Hey, what's up, everybody? There's a lot of bullish things that are flashing in my face right now, and I want to share them with you. So stick around and check this out. So, first off, Ethereum Classic, we're on a 2 week 9 buy. Obviously, we talked about the total three being on a 2 week 9 buy. We also have our beloved Theta on a 2 week 9 buy. So, things are looking pretty juicy. But is there anything else that is saying, hey, this is very, very bullish? Aside from that, well, there is. And let me show you that. So we'll start here with Ethereum Classic first. If you remember a little while ago, I compared this chart to Dogecoin. So if I turn the lights on, let's see here. I want to, there we go. You can see a little bit of the highlights there. So here's Ethereum Classic, and here is Dogecoin back in 2020, right before 2021, right before that mega, huge, life-changing wave occurred. Thanks to Mr. Elon Musk, probably had a lot to do with it. So here they are side by side, and I've been tracking this for a while now, and it's looking really interesting to me. Now, this doesn't mean to go and buy Ethereum Classic. This is not a shill for Ethereum Classic. I mean, if it really doesn't mean anything to me as far as Ethereum Classic goes, but what this does mean is if it's showing me this sort of bullish look to it, when we compare previous structures, then that means the whole, the rest of the market is also bullish, right? And if Ethereum Classic is showing this sign, then a lot of other coins are as well. And so, anyway, so yeah, I mean, we started off here with this big cycle. We went down, basically going sideways here, right? We didn't really have a retracement, like a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. I guess you can say that. Same thing with Ethereum Classic, rise, crash, retrace, right? We're going down in reaccumulation. We're going sideways here. What's interesting though are all the highlighted points, like how it came up and double tapped that. Or I'm sorry, yeah, it came down, then up and double tapped that, and then it went sort of down and then kind of up and then slanted down in this channel. It went down, up, and then slanted down in the channel. And then, let me zoom in a little bit more. Here you can see how we sort of broke out of the channel, and then we came down to back test it. We built a little bit of a base here, and then we blasted off. So my question is that's what's happening now. We break out of the base or this channel, we come down, we develop a little bit of a base here, and then we just start to blast off. I mean, it sure looks like it. Now, is that what's going to happen? There's no way to know for sure, but when you look at the structure, it sure does scream that's what's probably going to happen. Now, provided the environment, it's all about the environment, right? Certain type of plants have to grow in specific environments. Certain animals they can only thrive in certain environments, right? So, same goes with crypto. If the environment stays healthy, meaning there's no craziness in the stock market, no craziness in the dollar, no deep state events, right? So as long as everything kind of stays normal, we could see something like that for sure. So there's another coin out there that's interesting. It's called Engine Coin. Now, I don't know really much about it. I mean, other than just looking at the chart. But the reason I'm pointing it out is because this chart actually is one that I'm considering buying. The reason why is because it's really down here in the gutter, and nobody's really talking about it, which is things that I like. And then also, we have this sort of base here, and I'm sure it stretched out further than that. But essentially, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a 5-wave move down, and then we have a completed crashing structure, which is 1, 2. And then we have, let's see, 3, 4. And then I would actually go 5, and then 6, and then 7. So we have the amount of waves we need. And then when I zoom in here, you can also see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, it looks really primed. And this reminds me a lot of CRV. And as you know, I was bullish on CRV. I had it, but I got stopped out and I never got to get back in. And then sure enough, if I would have gotten back in, it went up quite a bit. But this has the same characteristics as CRV, and you can tell that because how it comes down, right? It comes down in 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what it does is it creates this base in here, right? Giving you the illusion that it's going to break out. But what actually happens is it's basically coming down for a liquidity grab. Now, would I go as far as saying that this is some kind of Wyckoff pattern? It is, but it's pretty dang deep to be a Wyckoff pattern. I would feel more comfortable with saying it's a completed crashing structure, but either way you look at it, if I just put this line right here, you can kind of see the Wyckoff structure where we go up. Basically, without saying all the annotations of Wyckoff, it's basically like a slanted M. So it's like an M shape, right? And then it comes down, and then it breaks this low. It grabs the liquidity, and then it should come back up, play around a little bit, and then continue higher. Now, it's not going to do it in a straight line like I've drawn it, but it should be some kind of effect like that. If I had to guess how it would be based off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Usually when you get 7, you come up pretty nicely, and then you flag out a little bit, and then you start marching your way back up, play around here at the top, maybe tag the low a little bit, and then continue higher. So that's what I would imagine happening. Now, this could be very fast, depending how crazy of an alt season we get. Now, it doesn't mean we're getting an alt season. I give it about probably a little bit more than a 60% chance that we're getting an alt season. But let me talk about that now. But before I do that, real quick, I want to talk about CRV here. It is on a 2-week 9 buy, which is very important. But also I want to compare it to Engine. Now you can see what CRV has done thus far, which is actually pumped up quite a bit here. So if I put it from the bottom to where we are now, I mean, just that little move there is an 80% move, right? So if we have that same, similar structure, so we have them side by side, and, I think I found one that actually resembles CRV that hasn't gone up, 80%, something that I can dip my toes into a little bit here. But yeah, essentially you can see something extremely similar here, right? Where you have this move, right? And you basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have 6 and then 7, right? So same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 6 and then you have 7. And then inside of this wave, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Same thing here. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. And one of the big things is, even if this is not going to go on a mega bull run, I think it's probably, a good chance that it's going to come back and test this area here. So just like how I was describing Bitcoin, when we were looking at this fractal, right? And here's your area here, and we crashed to it. What did it do? Well, when we were down here, I was saying, don't sell, just wait, because chances are it's going to come back up and retest all of these areas here, right? And when we were in the thick of this crash, I was comparing it to this structure here. And then, interestingly, later on, more people started to see it as well, which is a good thing. So, yeah, I think, anytime you have a structure and then it crashes through the floor, a lot of times it comes back up and it retests it, right? So here we are with Bitcoin. We come down, right? We're retesting it. So here's going to be the decision. I think we're going to start moving our way up a little bit here. And we'll jump into Bitcoin soon, but it's actually looking pretty, interesting for another move to the upside. And we'll talk about that. But, comparing this structure here, right, or actually this structure here, or both of them, to Engine and CRV. And you can say, well, who cares about Engine? Who cares about CRV? Well, for me, if we do have an alt season, which again, I give it at least a 60% chance, provided the environment is stable, then I want to look for altcoins that really haven't, gone up a considerable amount, right? And a lot of them are still, relatively cheap, but some of them are really cheap, and those are the ones I like. Now, it begs the question, are they going to do well? That's another story, but from a structure perspective, they look pretty low risk, low entry, low risk, right? So let's look at it. But real quick, before I do that, you can see, like, for example, ADA, I mean, you could see the bottom was where? You can see the bottom here, here, and here. And it had this wave up, and then it came down. That's what most of the market has done, like THETA, Filecoin, XRP, I mean, a lot of them, right? They had their bottoms, they came up, and now they're pulling back, which gives me the impression they're going to continue higher. But some of them, like CRV and Engine and maybe a few others out there, they created this little base here, and then they came lower, and now they're way down here. Now, most people would run away from that saying, okay, yeah, it's too weak, people sold off, it's really weak, I don't want to be in it, right? There's no higher low, there's no bottom. But the thing is from a risk perspective and from a percentage perspective, you could argue it's higher risk, but you can also argue it's lower risk. But for me, I'm arguing that it's a bigger percentage potential, right? Since you had the 7 waves down, since you had the completed crashing structure, right? We haven't even made the first wave yet, not let alone the 3rd or the 5th wave. Whereas something like ADA already has a 1-2 getting ready for that 3rd wave. So for me, maybe a spot position would be healthy down in here and let it sort of, mature a little bit and see how it develops. Not for ADA, but for Engine and potentially CRV if it provides a good entry. So here's both of them side by side again. And just like with Bitcoin, again, when, let me zoom in on CRV first. So just like with Bitcoin, right, you kind of had this area. It crashes to the downside. And typically what happens is it comes up and it meets back up here. So you can see resistance, or actually this was support, 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 right? You crash down, you have a completed move, and then also the whole wave itself is 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's important. So typically, right? So for example, like ADA, it came up and then it came down. So it's right here. But CRV and Engine is way down here, right? So they have much more percentage potential on the way up if we do get that, right? But even if we don't get that, we should still expect it to come back. Let me draw that again. We should expect it to come back to this area here, right? So it kind of looks like maybe a 1, we're going to get a 2, then maybe a 3, 4, 5 or something like that, and it gets us back up to here. And then we probably get an ABC, we pull back a little bit, as long as it flags out, it looks good, and then that's when we set sail for a big wave to the upside, right? So, that's the idea. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But when we compare that to something like Engine, to me, it's even a better deal because you could see this was 80%. I think this right here, I have to measure it. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But if we do the same thing, and you can see support, 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 right? And we just draw that across my crooked line there. You could see, right, the price coming down. Now, typically what happens is you're going to come back up. Now, the big thing is, how are we going to know, right? Does this wave come up in 3 or does it come up in 5? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or does it give us some kind of 3-wave move like this and then with a hard rejection? But at least I'm in the trade, right? At least I'm in the trade at a relatively low entry, right? So I can kind of, figure out if I want to hold on to it or not, right? Whereas something like THETA and other coins like that, they could have more of a downside area because, again, something like THETA or just the total 3 as an example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it came up here and then it pulls back. So the low is down here, right? So would you rather buy something here or would you rather buy something here? Now, from people's, whoever has been holding this, they're not going to feel like they want to hold it or buy it because it's been going, it's broken this low. It looks horrible. It looks like there's no hope, right? Whereas things like THETA, and just using as an example, right? A lot of the other coins have a high or actually a wave up and then a lower high, whereas this one is a complete down in the dumps. But that's where you sort of, not financial advice, but that's where for me, I like to take a stab at it, right? I like to take a stab. And then just look at CRV. I mean, it's up 80% just on a little tiny move, and it hasn't even made it back to its area here, right? To its breakdown area. So this is where the decision is going to be met. Just like how I said with Bitcoin, the decision will be met. Now, you can see we're pretty close. We're at least maybe 50, 60% there. But Engine, we're still pretty far away. So anyway, I'm just kind of comparing these two charts. I'm not endorsing CRV or Engine. I'm just saying, from a risk perspective, I think I may take a stab at it. Probably will. I'm just looking for a good entry on the small time frames. But yeah, just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And then the reason why it's important is because if we do have an alt season, right, this thing can really, it has a lot more wiggle room here. It has a lot more space. And it doesn't matter about the coin, right? It doesn't matter. It's all about percentages. So looking at the live chart, not the screenshot, let me just go to the 2-day chart. And let me put a line here. I would say between here and here would be good. To get back there, it's about, I want to say 60%. Now, to get back to its retracement level from this wave here, that's about between the 618 and the 702. That's about 170%. So that's not a bad little trade there, right? So I'm believing that we're going to have some kind of retracement here. Things just don't go down, 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 down. They could, right? If we have a complete meltdown again in the stock market, something like that. But yeah, I'm looking at this here, and if I just put some annotations here, 1, 2, I would say 3, 4, and 5. Something like that. Right? So you're going to at least want, you know, some kind of A, B, C. Now, if we move up like that, then yeah, it's going to look like it's not a long-term hold, but just a short-term hold. So we'll just give it time and we'll see how this continues to develop. When I look at the microstructure, let's zoom into the 4-hour chart. Right now we're at the top of the range. It looks an awful lot like an ascending triangle. I mean, it looks pretty decent here for some kind of ascending triangle. Let me put that right about there. Okay, yeah, so the measured move of that would be approximately, let's see here, approximately 17 cents. And wouldn't you know it, it's actually right at this low here. So exactly there. So about, yeah, 17 cents. So from where we are now, that would be a 20% move. So using 3x leverage, that would be a 60% move, which wouldn't be bad, right? I'd like to see it kind of come back down and retest it one more time, and then kind of come up, back test, and then go. That's what I would like to see. But this thing could very well break out now. But usually ascending triangles break out at least 65% of the way through the triangle, and it looks about 65% to me. So we'll see. We'll see how it continues to develop. It's all going to be on Bitcoin's shoulders. So let's get Bitcoin out of the way. And I still got to do the altcoins, right? The basically the whole altcoin market here. But the more that I look at this, you know, it's pretty corrective, and actually it feels like this is gonna do that. That's what it feels like, right? We got this move to the upside, we got the move to the downside, and now you want another move to the upside, right? So we have actually, and we're still following the fractal, and we'll actually put it side by side and see how it's doing. But we have 3, and then it looks like 3, 3, and then 3. Okay. And then it looks like, this looks like 3. Right? So, you know, from a bearish perspective, it could be that this is W, this is X, and then we still need Y. So 3, 3, 3, right? Which would really be 3 up, 3 down, and then we would get 5 up or 3 up. So either the fractal is going to play out and we're going to march our way up, or this has to come down in a more complex correction, basically a 3, 3, 3, and then go up. So we might need to come here and test, you know, 54 to 56K, somewhere in here, right? There's a lot of liquidity there under these lows. So, but there's also a lot of liquidity up here. Usually the first move, a lot of times the first move is the fake out, right? So if we do come down, they're going to say, oh, look, here's our range. We broke it to the downside. We're bearish, but then, boop, we go up. So just be cautious of that. Now, when we look at the fractal side by side, it's okay, but I don't really like how big that dump was. It's pretty big. And if I compare that dump, I would compare it to right there, right? Which is not that big. So that's a little bit of a, I would say, red flag. But essentially, we have I wish I would have did the smaller time frame, but you know, this flat top here, whoops, we come down, hit the low, right? Actually hit it one more time. You just can't see it because I'm on the wrong time frame, but we roll over, we go sideways, and we hit the high. We roll over, we went sideways, we hit the high, right? And then you can see we came up to about equal high here, but this one actually broke the high. So maybe that's why we have a bigger correction versus this one here. So yeah, you can see it rolling over, going sideways, pump, pullback, continuation, rolling over, pump, pullback, maybe sideways, and then hopefully continuation, right? That's the idea. Again, if we don't get that, then I would look at this as some kind of three-way move down and then reset, right? Flag out a little bit and then continue. So that's about it for Bitcoin. The main thing to take away from this is that right here. So if I just put a channel here, something like that, and I pull it down, you can see we're correcting down. Now, if this channel was going up, it would be more bearish, but it's actually going down, which is actually more bullish, right? So we're correcting, overlapping, something like this, which usually leads to a breakout to the upside. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays. But yeah, this is just all corrective. And it looks like what this is doing is correcting this wave here. And this wave here was correcting this wave here. And this wave here was because of what happened in the stock market. Basically a big, big dump, right? Margin call, whatever. So, yeah, so to me, it looks like it needs to come up here. And then once it does, this would be sort of the ultimatum, right? Do we push higher, or is this an impulse down with a three-way pullback? We continued going down. So that's going to be the big thing, and that's going to be sort of the major inflection point. And I'm going to make a video sometime this week about how I'm going to play this strategy. It'll be in the member part of the video. If you want to check that out and maybe try it for a month or two and see if it's worth it, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But I'm going to kind of get into the nitty gritty here. I would do it more, but again, my videos are already pretty long, so I don't want to have to go into more than I already have to, right? So anyway, let's move on to the altcoin market here. But just real quick, we have to look at the weekly candle. It's still holding along here, and what I like about these candles is notice how we have this big dump down, right? When you have a big dump down and then you get a doji and then you get another doji, and now you have sort of a green candle going above these two dojis, that's actually a good sign, right? Because if I were to flip this upside down, right, and let's say this was a green candle, and then we have these dojis, right? So wherever the dojis are is usually the opposite of where the price is going to go, right? So for example, here was a doji here, and what happened? We went up. And then what happened? We had another dragonfly doji here, and then what happened? We went down. And then what happened? We had a doji here, and then what happened? We went back up, right? So then you can see this doji here, which led to this move up. And now we have all of these dojis, which hopefully means we're going to come back down, which is really inverted, which means back up. So I'm still looking at this as I'll just put all the annotations on real quick. There we go. Something that I'm right here. And then we had, of course, the ABC down in here, right? And then, of course, we had the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? And again, this is going to come down to two things. Either we're going to get a fifth wave expansion, or we're going to go down into reaccumulation and then get that later on. But without a doubt, I am like 99.9999% convinced we will get an alt season. But the reason I'm confident in that is because it's only a matter of time, right? Now, are we going to get an alt season in this fifth wave? That I'm about 60% sure, right? Are we going to get this fifth wave at all? I'm about 60% sure. Now, if this wasn't an election year and the stock market wasn't so jacked up and on Mountain Dew, right? And if we didn't have the labor market and we didn't have all this inflation and we didn't have all these problems, then I would be like 80 to 90% confident. But since there's all these unknowns hanging above our head, I have to give it a 60% chance. But here's the cool part about it. Even if we didn't go up and get that fifth wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and get a big alt season, even if that never happened, we're still gonna get an alt season. And you say, well, what do you mean? Because if this doesn't go into a fifth wave, then we're gonna go down into reaccumulation. And if we go down into reaccumulation, we're eventually going to get a alt season later on. So it's either going to happen pretty quickly, or it's going to take another maybe 6 months to a year and then happen, or somewhere in between. But I'm telling you right now, an alt season will come. So it's going to come quick, or it's going to take longer. But no matter what, it's going to happen. This is not financial advice. I could be wrong, and it might never, ever, ever come. But historically, if you look at crypto from a macro perspective, and look at it from a utility perspective, look at it from, crypto is like the mid 90s or even the .com bubble, right? It's still very early. I mean, look at Amazon. I always compare it to Amazon, or even Facebook, right? Amazon, it took 10 years for it to break out. But when it did, it was the biggest breakout in history for Amazon. So, it's kind of an interesting thing here, and here's the cool part. I believe that Trump will be president, and I believe he's going to reduce inflation by producing more energy, by drilling more oil, but then also fixing our economy by reconstructing the financial system. Now, nobody's talking about it, but I think there has to be a big event in order for people to talk about it, right? Because optically, he can't come out and say, yeah, I'm going to do this and that, and there's no real reason for it. But if something big happened, then that's when they come out, like you create the problem to then offer the solution. But in this instance, it's the problem has been here this whole time, which is the deep state central banking fiat currency debt enslavement system that essentially is making people poor and working, you work more for less. That's basically how it goes down, right? So once he eventually comes into office, if we did get a big dump and we had to go into reaccumulation, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it did, then ultimately it would actually be a good thing. And you could say, well, why would that be a good thing? That would be a horrible thing. Well, yeah, it would be bad for our portfolios in the meantime, but it would actually reset the whole market. It would basically crush and liquidate a lot of people, which is healthy. It would reset the oscillators. It would reset the whole market. It would give people a lot of fear, and it basically would reset the whole market for a bullish stance. So I'm telling you, if we go up, perfect. Our portfolios are happy. If we go down, it's going to suck in the meantime, but eventually that time will pass and you're going to go to your job and you're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Most people do. And you're going to take 2% of that or however much you put, and you're going to buy more crypto every week, probably for the next 6 to 8 months, maybe up to a year. And then once we blast off from there, right, you can see these two areas are exactly the same, except, Joe had $20,000 portfolio, and Joe had to wait a little bit longer on this scenario, but now he has like $70,000, right? So it's a lot more money, but he had to sacrifice more time. So I'm telling you, no matter what happens, if we go down, even if we go down a lot, we're still going to get an alt season later on. It's just only a matter of time. And I'm using Bitcoin as the example because without Bitcoin, there's really no alt season, right? So, it's not a matter of if we get an alt season. Are we going to get an alt season? Are we going to get no, we are for sure going to get one. It's just a matter of when do we get one? That's the big question. When? When moon, right? That's the ultimate question. So for me, if someone asks me when moon, I say we have a 60% chance of it happening by the end of the year. So probably by December, right? We should be up here between, 80 to 100K. And I give it a 40% chance that we have to come down into some kind of reaccumulation phase before ultimately going back up. But if we do that, it would be most likely a lot higher. Why would it be higher? Because the momentum here, first of all, this whole thing is one wave. So if we have, let me do that one more time. If we have 5 waves to the upside, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this whole thing is one wave, one giant wave. And that wave started at the beginning of 2023. So once we get to 2025, that's going to be 2 years. We've been going up for 2 years, right? But your altcoin hasn't. Why? Because traditionally altcoins stay flat until Bitcoin gets that 5th wave, and then they decide to go very fast, right? So I call it, the sort of the altcoin illusion, where people oftentimes sell their alts and chase Bitcoin at the very worst time to do so. But if this whole wave, if we get 5 waves, it's going to be exhausted, right? But if this thing comes down, right? If this thing comes all the way down, then it's going to sort of be another wave itself, right? It's going to be a totally separate wave, which is then going to what? It's going to recalibrate the momentum, because markets are all momentum driven, right? Elliott wave, a 5-wave sequence is just momentum, right? You come up, you pull back. It's like getting a flat rock and skipping it across the lake. It's just momentum, and eventually that momentum dies out and then it collapses, right? But what I'm saying is, if we don't get that 5th wave to the upside for whatever reason, and we come down, now our momentum going up is going to be a lot stronger. Why? Because we would have all this time, to sort of, reset the momentum. Because what is it called? It's called reaccumulation for a reason. Just like over here, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We went sideways in here. And this sideways situation was the reason why we had such a pretty big wave in Bitcoin. I mean, we went from what, like, 9,000 all the way to almost $70,000. And why was it so powerful? Because we had all of this sideways momentum, right? So for example, a lot of people thought back in 2019, we were going to continue going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if Bitcoin did that, it probably would have only gotten to maybe 30 or 40K. But the fact that it took its time and went sideways and people were accumulating, that's what led to a big moment, right? So it's kind of like a catch-22, right? On one hand, if we go up, great. Our portfolios are going to be happy. We're going to get we're potentially get a decent alt season, right? But it'll be short-lived and it won't be as powerful. On the other side, if we go down, right, it's going to take longer. It's going to suck in the meantime, but it's all going to make up for it later on down the road. So what do you want? It's all about what your preference is. Do you want it to happen now, or would you rather happen it later? But if it did happen later, you would be able to accumulate much more and we would get a bigger price. So if we did go up, here's the kind of the scary part. We might not even get it. If Bitcoin gets a fifth wave, we might not get an alt season. We might just get an alt retracement, right? So let's go to total 3. So here's total 3, and here we finally made it to the altcoin section. So if Bitcoin gets that fifth wave, obviously we're going to get a pretty big move up here in total 3, and it would technically qualify as an alt season. But is it going to be a crazy alt season like we had in the past? It very well could be. I guess on certain coins, I think XRP is probably in the best position for that crazy situation. You could say, well, why not THETA? Well, THETA can as well from a percentage perspective, but my thing is with THETA is, and not just THETA, but a lot of them, is if Bitcoin does get that fifth wave, right, and it breaks out, obviously THETA would break out too. But the worry here is what happens when we get stalled out up here in the retracement levels. That's going to be my worry, right? Because it has a lot of work to do. And you can say, well, XRP does as well. Yeah, but XRP has went sideways for a long time, longer than any other coin out there. So it established a base pretty massively. So if it did break out, it has more momentum, just like the example of reaccumulation, right? So even if that did happen, it would still be a mega move from where we are now, right? If I went all the way up, that's still a 600% move, and that still would qualify as an alt season. Now, are we going to break out into new all-time highs? That's going to be a different situation. I think I have to ask myself, what is the highest probability for THETA to break out into a new all-time high? And my answer to that would be if Bitcoin actually crashed and went down into reaccumulation. So here's Bitcoin. If it crashed and went down and it sort of went sideways a little bit and then it continued higher, right? That would basically mean THETA would come up, probably go sideways too a little bit, or actually it would wait, let me take that off the screen. Let me redraw that real quick. First of all, we would probably come up and hit the high, and I would imagine THETA comes up into a retracement. We come down into reaccumulation. I think THETA would too as well, and it would be somewhere in this range in here. So basically, there's our new range, our accumulation area. And then when we break out, it would be pretty massive. So it's all about time. You can see how much time this is. You can see the pump. We could get a pullback. We have more time. We would get even a bigger pump. And you combine it all together, and you have one solid foundation. So I'm not saying it's going to have to take that long, but I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of insight. Basically means it doesn't matter. It doesn't. If you're a crypto hodler, it matters on some level because we all want it now, right? We're human beings are impatient. We want it now. Give it to me now, right? But again, we can't control it. And if it doesn't happen, we're eventually going to get it anyways. It's just being like a tease, right? It's like, you're being teased with all of this, and then you take it away, and then you feel like, oh no, but then you get it later on, and it's actually much more satisfying. So I'm letting you know, are we going to break up? Are we going to break down? I'm telling you it doesn't matter. I'm telling you we're going to get an all season regardless. Now, if I had to choose, I say THETA and the rest of the market is going up. Why? Because look what it's been doing for the last several months. It's been correcting to the downside in a very corrective manner, right? So, for example, we have an impulse, an expanded flat correction. We have a huge impulse, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then when I turn on the 2-week chart and I turn on the sequential, look at that. I mean, that right there tells me we're going up. Every single candle from the peak of its correction is red. And that reminds me, what does the Heikin-Ashi look like? If I go to chart type, you can see all these different charts. I can do columns. I can do a line chart, right? I can do obviously a lot of different ones here. Some of them are a little bit confusing, like this one here. Like, what the hell is that? It's called Renko. Now, just looking at that looks pretty confusing to me. I have no clue how to read that. But one of them that I do respect a lot is Heikin-Ashi. And when I look at the Heikin-Ashi, I mean, it looks pretty nice. I mean, look at that. It looks primed. So if we don't get an alt season, I think we still will at least get some alt relief, right? So let's break this trend line here, and let me put the retracement on here. So I'm looking at $2.23 between $1.90 and $2.50. So that's the target, right? That's really the short-term target here, and I think that's coming soon. The alts, they look primed. And do we have any alts indicating that? Well, we had Solana move up quite a bit, and then we had Tron. I think Tron, let's see, has Tron made a new all-time high? No, it hasn't made a new all-time high, but it is very close. I mean, very close. Let's see if I put up Bitcoin here. Yeah, okay, so basically, let me take Bitcoin off. So the peak of the market here, this is like THETA $15. This is like XRP $2. This is like, ADA at all-time highs. And you can see it came down pretty decent here. And it actually never went down like a lot of coins. It actually made sort of this triple, quadruple bottom here. and then it just shot all the way back up. Now, you could look at it as a good thing. You can also look at it as a bad thing because it's looking exhausted. I mean, look how much it's been going up. Let me take it off Icon-Ashi. I mean, it's been going up quite a bit. But we have now the biggest candle we've had in a long time. This is the 2-week chart, and we have a 2-week engulfing candle that closes in 5 days. And if it closes where it's at, it'll be the highest 2-week close in Tron's history. So that's a big deal, right? And you can say, well, who cares about Tron? And we don't like Justin Sun. I don't care about him either. I mean, whatever the case is, whatever. I'm just looking at it from, hey, if Tron can do it, other coins can do it as well. So people can say it's manipulation or who knows what's going on. But I do know a big reason why Tron has been pretty decent here is because of their stablecoin. Like, for example, when I've made payments a lot with certain crypto transactions, it would take Tether. And a lot of people don't want to use ERC, right, which is Ethereum, because why would I pay $10, $12, $15 to send, $200 worth of Tether? It's crazy. So the next option would be TRX or Tether, basically using the Tron blockchain to send my Tether, right? So because Tron enables that, I think that's why it's grown a lot more, because people can store their Tether or their USD and they can kind of convert it back and forth to Tron. So I'm not sure exactly, but I think stablecoin or the stablecoin transfers has a lot to do with it. Basically putting Tron on the map. Also, we know XRP is coming out with their stablecoin too, so it'll be interesting to see. But what I see from Tron here, only reason I'm talking about it is because, I mean, we're literally at all-time highs. We have a major cup and handle here. That's a big deal. Okay, so if I take it off log and I do that and I come up to here, we could see probably 27 cents on the low end, which is only, that's not even 80%. So would I buy Tron? No, I would not buy it. Why? Because why would I buy Tron? It's way the heck up here. I would rather buy something that's cheap, like Engine, right? So anyway, that's my assessment for there. So let's go back to, let's go back to total 3. But real quick, this is total 2 divided by XRP USD, which means this, as this goes up, XRP is losing against the whole market. If it goes down, that means XRP is gaining on the whole market. And what I see here looks to me like some type of some type of correction here, right? And we're dumping right now, which means going down is actually good for XRP. So if this thing can pull back and continue to go down, it looks like it's a completed move here. I mean, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, it looks like we have everything. So, which means what? XRP is so undervalued compared to the rest of the market, right? Which is another reason I'm bullish on XRP. So, by the way, THETA versus Bitcoin, I'm going to talk about that in the member video. I mean, come on. It's a 2-week 9 buy on THETA versus Bitcoin. I think that's a big deal. And we'll talk more about that. Also, I'll be talking about THETA Fuel a little later in the week. And reassessing it. It's still very bullish. I mean, it's still, doing what it needs to do. It's still in the back test zone, right? It's right there. You can see it's back testing all of these areas. It has not broken this low, which is very important. It's still holding its own. So we'll see how it continues to go. So here's total 2 or total 3, and again we're on a 2-week 9 buy, which is very important, and that 9 is also bouncing off the 50 of the RSI, so that's interesting. And then we also have, if I go up a little bit so we can see the definition in the chart, we also have a W, X, Y, X, Z. And what I really like about that is look at this massive bullish hammer candle. That thing came all the way down and it tagged the green dot. These green dots are provided by this indicator. So TD sequential, right? Which is the indicator. It's not on TradingView. You can't search for it unless you were grandfathered in. But if you want that indicator, you just go to trend reversal predictor, right? And that's it's basically it's the same thing. But anyways, we had a 9 sell, and it came down. It printed these red dots, and then it knew where to put the green dots, right? Which is your setup trend, your setup support. So you can see that was a very bullish wick. We wicked off of that with a vengeance, and now we're sitting up here, right? So I think everything is very bullish, very, very bullish. The chart is speaking to me. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it just seems like it needs to do that. That's what it feels like it needs to do, right? And the only way it's going to do that, again, is if the environment is okay for Bitcoin and for the stock market. So let's zoom in and look at the small time frames here. Now, the small time frames could be a little bit better. We kind of have, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C pullback, and then we have a 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go, right? Another thing you can say is, well, it's very 3-wave-ish. It looks like it's going to be a 3-wave move. Well, everything ultimately starts out as a 3-wave move, right? The trick is what happens when we get into these retracement levels. So right now we're at the 618. So if we can get through basically this zone right in here, I think it's going to be very, very bullish, right? So if I go to the 2-day chart, and then also just put like a downward resistance line. So that's the line I'm watching for. If we can kind of go sideways a little bit more, pop the high, pull back a little bit, and then sort of bump our head up into this downward resistance line, breakout, back test, I think we're really on our way. So that could happen probably within the next couple months. So be on the lookout for something big. If it doesn't happen, then obviously we're going to get rejected and we're going to come down pretty hard. And then we're going to go into reaccumulation and then go at a later day. And that's what it really comes down to. So, but anyway, I think that'll do it for now. I think the chart that I'm really liking is Engine for a potential buying opportunity, because it's really down in the gutter here. So, and it hasn't made any too significant moves. But let's look at XRP, and then we'll look at THETA real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. So It's not too much to say on the higher time frames. Obviously, I'm looking at this as a three-way move. So 3 there, and then we have an impulse. We came all the way and we back tested this area, and then now we're back at the equal highs. So you can see how significant this area is, right? High, 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 right? So once we break that 63 to 70 cent area, I mean, it's going to be a pretty big move to the upside, right? Because there's a lot. I mean, we've been basically going sideways for a year, up, down, up, right? Up, down, up, down. So it's just been dreadful. But as far as the small time frames go, let's take a look. We just went over that hour mark. If you can hit that like button, I'd always appreciate it. See, the 1 hour is a little bit challenging because it can, you have point A and you have point B and you're right in the middle. That's always a tough situation, right? But we're going in the right direction. So a couple different ideas on the small time frames is that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, and then this is a B wave, and now we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C, and then go. So A, B, C, right? Something like that. And then what it looks like would be 3 up, 3 down, and then maybe 5 up or 3 up. So that would be one idea. The other idea is that obviously this was our little roundabout we talked about. We went sideways. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We're going to get 4, and then we come up for 5. We get an ABC pullback, and then we continue higher. Right? So those are basically the two ideas for XRP. Theta looks more in line with the rest of the market, how it's got this little roundabout going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, go. Or it's going to be, we have 3, 3, 3, and then, so this is a 3-way move here, right there, and then here's another 3-way move. So it would basically be 3 up, 3 down, and then 3 up or 5 up. So it could be, so this is an ABC from here, and then this is a 1, 2. Let's get 3, 4, and 5. So again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, go. Or we have 3, and then we have 3, and then now I'm looking for 3 or 5. So boom, 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 a larger 3-way move. If I had to choose one, I would probably say that one. Simply because what's going on in here. Now if we look a little bit closer, let's go to the 20-minute. It still looks very corrective. But on the short term, I would say it's a little bit difficult to count. 1, 2, it looks like a 5-way move, and this looks like maybe an ABC and go, or it's going to be a 1, 2 and go. So I would probably anticipate it flagging out here for a little bit, stabilize, because right now it's building a pretty decent base in here. It's building a pretty decent base, right? And I always like to compare it to something like, when you look at it, now look closely, you can see XRP, right? Kind of that same thing, but it actually took the low here and then it went. So it more so had this bigger ABC, right? Which could mean Theta's got a little bit more down to go, but overall the direction is up. Matic is actually looking pretty good. It's got a very bullish engulfing daily candle. It's got somewhat of a three soldier thing going on here. It's a candlestick pattern. But yeah, I basically said look out for this because it's pretty big here. And why do I say that? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have A, B, and C. It's a big ABC, but it is what it is. We broke the low here all the way down here, so I'm expecting it to come back up here, and then that's going to be the decision. Are we going to continue retracing or we're going to continue going down? I say we'd probably continue retracing. So yeah, Matic looks bullish. Someone asked me about it, and there you go. Now, right now, I wouldn't buy it right now simply because it looks very three-wave-ish. You can see that, right? I would want it to come down a little bit and then maybe get it a little bit lower and then maybe get a 1-2, 1-2 going on. That would be nice to see. So anyways, probably a little bit, we had a couple pumps. Let's see, today's Tuesday, so we definitely had a pumpy day yesterday and somewhat of a pumpy day today. So I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back Wednesday and Thursday. And we know Thursdays have been very volatile, so yeah, overall I think so far it's been a pretty productive week for crypto. Other than that, that will do it, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Hit that like and subscribe. And again, if you're interested in the member videos, you can go ahead and join that. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.